Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we are looking at the Kuat Sherpa 2.0 2-bike rack here on our 2019 Mazda CX-5. Now the Kuat Sherpa is one of the best bike racks in the mid-range price range of bike racks. It has all of the nice important features that you would expect in a convenient bike rack, but at a reasonable price. So let's take a look at one of those features, which is that it can tilt away. And to do so, you're going to want to lift this or pull on this lever and then just allow it to drop down. With it in that position, you'll then be able to access the hatch. So as you can see here, there is so much space between our door and our handlebars, allowing us to, let's say, get into the trunk, maybe grab our helmets, our water, our bags, all without having to take the bike off, which is nice and convenient, and it gets you onto the road fast. So with the bike here on our Sherpa, you can see how it is clamped down. We have a front wheel clamp, and this is a nice design because then I have this carbon frame bike here, but then I don't have to worry about accidentally warping my frame. But also, it's really convenient if you have alternate frame bikes. Let's say your children's bikes, your women's bikes, your step-through bikes. With a front wheel clamp like that, you then don't need to get a frame adapter bar. Another way this is mounted, or another part of the mounting process, is this rear wheel strap. So when you want to take the bike off, this is where you start. You start by pressing that lever, pushing up on that strap to take that out, and then leave it to the side so it doesn't get tangled up in your spokes. Then come over here to the front. One thing to remember is to hold on to your bike as you do so it doesn't tilt back towards the car. Press this button on that clamp, push it up and out. And from there, it's just a slight lift and you are ready to go on a bike ride. And then with that bike out of the way, we can take a closer look at the bike rack itself. Here in the back, we have this rear cradle, and that's going to accommodate bike tire width of up to 3 inches. You have this ratcheting strap so that comes down and secures that rear wheel. And then here in the front, we have this front wheel cradle. Notice how everything kind of folds in for a nice compact look. That's the big thing about the Sherpa, is that they try to be as minimalistic as possible with their design. Then you also have this front wheel clamp, which I just talked about, but this has grooves on the inside to accommodate those different tire widths as it clamps down onto that front tire. So let's fold it down here so it's a nice compact look with a weight capacity of 40 pounds per bike. That's something you'd expect for like your medium range bike rack. It's not enough weight capacity for your heavy electric bikes, but just your average bike, your mountain bike, road bike, just a family bike, it's good enough. Let's take some measurements to find out how much length we're gonna have to think about with this bike rack on our vehicle. So from the rear bumper of our CX-5 to the end of the bike rack, it sits at 32.5 inches. That's pretty normal for a 2-bike rack, but it's still a length you're gonna have to remember when you're backing into your garage or when you're trying to park into a really tight spot, because you do have the extra length behind you. We'll also talk about ground clearance. So underneath the trays to the ground, you have a ground clearance of 19 inches. And where that shank is, underneath the shank to the ground, it's a ground clearance of 10.5 inches. So ground clearance, especially on the CX-5, is very important because it is kind of lower to the ground compared to, let's say, a truck. So when you are going up those inclines like a driveway or a hill, it's a good thing you have that shank rise, because then your bikes are higher off the ground and you're less likely to hit the ground. Another of its features of the bike rack is that you can fold it up if you want less length, and when you're not planning on carrying around bikes, but you still want to just drive around town with your bike rack on, you can pull that lever and then fold it up, and then it locks into place. So we'll take some more measurements. Let's talk about closest point. Our closest point is going to be from the bumper to the front wheel hook, and that sits at 3 3/4 inches. Plenty of clearance there. As for length added, right where that tray is it's going to be 7 inches. but our anti-rail bolt sticks out further than that, so it's going to be about 13 inches of length added to the back of the vehicle. So that's still a measurement to keep in mind when you are parking. But let's also talk about how this fits behind our vehicle. So with it folded up like this, you can see that our rear window is completely open. We also have our taillights completely visible. As for our license plate and our backup camera sits above the bike rack, so you know that you're not covering your view. You'll still get to see behind you. But as for our license plate, it's mostly visible. It does depend on where you're looking, but just consider that in terms of your local rules and regulations. If you're super concerned about that, you might be interested in the Kuat Transfer with its goalpost design. Let's talk about how this fits into our hitch. So this right here has a 2-inch solid shank, but if you have an 1.25-inch receiver, you can get the version that has an 1.25-inch shank. Exact same bike rack, just a different size. This fits into our hitch and uses a hitch pin and a lock. Now my favorite part about this is its anti-rail knob. Super easy to use. You just pop it into your hitch and tighten it down with this knob. No tools, no levers. And then once that's tightened down, you can see as I shake the bike rack, I'm shaking the vehicle, showing that there is no extra rattle or sway from an improper connection between the two, making for a smoother ride for your bikes. Alright, so my final thoughts about the Kuat Sherpa on our car here is I love how it looks. This is the gray version, but it also comes in pearl and black. Either of those colors would look wonderful here on our Mazda. Another thing is it's functional. So we see how we have full access to our hatch with it tilted away, but everything is visible as well up here. And you have that weight capacity for your regular bikes. If you have special bikes, kind of like your fat tire bikes or e-bikes, you might want to consider either the Kuat Transfer or the Kuat NV. But if you just have a normal bike and you still want a nice bike rack, you might want to consider this one. So that was a look at the Kuat Sherpa 2.0 here on our 2019 Mazda CX-5. Here on our test course, we'll start by going through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. Once we get to the alternating speed bumps, we'll see the twisting action. This will simulate hitting a curb or a pothole or driving over uneven pavement. Now lastly, we're going over some full speed bumps, and we can see here the up and down action, and this will just be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway. So we can see here how the bike rack moves with our truck.